All right, I just got my Starbucks. I didn't know that was open. It's double star day, so I had to go today because I never pass up a double star day. But it's Monday. Let me not talk while I back out of this very tight little parking spot. Okay, there we go. So it's Monday, November the 4th. If you watched the vlog that went up yesterday, you know that I had a very trying week for a lot of different reasons. I got sick. I had some student issues that were quite disappointing to have to deal with. I had some parents that I had to deal with that were disappointing in ways, and that just the stresses of teaching. So I'm on my way to work. And let me back up. Part of the reason why I think last week was so bad is because we're now in the second trimester. Last week was the first week of the second trimester, which means I've been teaching for 12 weeks now. And I think last week, the fact that I have been working what I feel like is nonstop since July, like I said in the vlog yesterday, I think last week just happened to be the week where like it caught up to me in terms of like how I felt mentally and emotionally, and to a certain extent physically. Like I do think that I ended up getting sick because like my immune system was weakened because of the stress levels. So today, and starting today, I'm really going to need to make a conscientious effort to be better. And in some ways I have gotten better since the beginning of the school year. I've definitely gotten better with like managing time and having the weekends to myself, with the exception of the weekend that I had to work on report cards. But I mean like better just on a day-to-day basis, Monday through Friday. Because what has not been happening is just like routines that I've had in the past that kind of kept me sane. And I didn't realize how significant they were to me until I had a whole trimester of not doing them. So, you know, like walking the dogs, cooking dinner, feeling like I have time to just sit on the couch and just like not think about work for a minute. I haven't been doing that this whole school year. And last week I think it just all like came to a head. So starting today, I really do need to be better, and a part of it is me. I have to do it. Like I have to force myself to stop working. I have to tell myself that everything's going to be fine if you just stop working for the night. I need to leave work consistently at a decent hour so that I do have time to come home and walk the dogs and cook dinner, especially now that it's daylight savings time. I have to leave earlier than what I have been because it's getting darker earlier. So if I want to walk the dogs, I really need to be walking out the door at a reasonable hour. I need to not skip reading the devotional that I've been reading since January because I just feel like I don't have time. I need to make sure I carve out, even if it's just a few minutes, time to read a book, because those are all things that make me feel like a normal human being. And I think by the end of last week, I just didn't feel like a normal human being. I didn't feel like I had a proper grasp on my life, and I really thought that I was going to just like sporadically start crying somewhere. So I'm heading to work today with a little bit of anxiety, just because last week was so bad that I just am scared to feel that level of stress and anxiety again. But also going like mentally telling myself I need to make some active choices for myself. Like there are some things that I can't control in terms of the stress of the job, but there are some things that I can control, and I can control leaving, and I can control just cutting myself off from work. I can't control all of those kinds of things, so I need to just control it and be better about it. So that's what I intend to do. As far as today, teaching wise, they will be taking a district assessment in language arts. It's a listening assessment and it's an interim assessment that everybody in the district takes, and the district tells us what part of this test they want us to take. And they're having us take the listening and the listening and speaking portion, I would assume, because that is the lowest scoring category for us. So they have to do that today. And then if there's time left, we're going to continue to work on this extended writing project with Study Sync. I don't know if any of this has made it in the vlog, because I've just vlogged so much and then not uploaded, but they are basically writing a narrative as a part of an extended writing project that is organized by StudySync. The other classes in my grade level, I think, are giving them free reign to choose their topic and all of that. Me, just trying to manage it for myself and just to avoid time wasted on like generating ideas at this point. I told them that they are either going to choose to write a prequel or a sequel to the story The Telltale Heart, which is the story we just finished. So they choose between those two, and then we go from there. So if they finish the district assessment during that language arts block of time and there's still time left over, they will continue with that process. Right now we're just at the point where they are identifying like the basic story elements, the who, what, when, where, why, and like the exposition of their story and just mapping their story out. I do need to give them some assignments on StudySync so that they have some classwork grades to kind of go along with this writing project. So I need to make sure I do that today. And then in social studies, I'm having like this dilemma because I really wanted to find a chapter book to read with my class that focused on the Native American culture, since it's Native American Heritage Month, but it's proving to be a challenge because after this extended writing project with StudySync, we move on to the next unit, and in that unit, the grade level reads The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. They read the whole novel, and there's no way that I can read 2 novels at the same time because I didn't even really get to read 1 novel last trimester. So I need to figure out how to incorporate some Native American study somehow, and I'm not sure how that's going to work, but it's something that I really want to do. I found a few books that sound very interesting, but I don't know that it's going to be feasible for me to read it. But I also know that there's a book of poems, I think it mostly is, that Megan has shared. So I might look into doing that and maybe just focus on a few poems to give to the students and see how that works. So I'm not gonna lie, I have a little bit of anxiety heading to work just because, I mean, I was really shook by last week and how I felt. And I don't want to feel that way anymore. And so I'm like, what if I go to work and I just start to feel that level of stress? But I'm going to actively tell myself, just remain calm, you're in control, you know how to teach, and as far as the parent issues, it's going to happen. Not every parent is going to appreciate the efforts that you're putting in. Not every parent is going to see things the way that you would wish that they would see them, and the only thing you can do is explain things, and if they still don't see it, there is not much else you can do after that. As far as students are concerned, that just goes with the territory. And so I'll just have to do the best that I can to support those students in the things that I feel that they need support in. So I'm almost there. So I'm gonna go ahead and say goodbye here for the morning. And then I will probably check in with you after school at some point today. So wish me luck, you guys. Hey guys, it's about 4:15, and guess what I'm getting ready to do? I am getting ready to go home because I am very committed to this new lifestyle it's not even a new lifestyle. I'm very committed to returning to my previous lifestyle. So I am ready for tomorrow. My agenda is on the board right there. My homework is listed. My slides are ready for tomorrow. So I feel good about that. All the copies that I need are made. And so I'm going to leave now, but not before checking in with you guys, because I'm trying to be a better blogger. I feel like I've been very hit and miss this school year. In terms of teaching today and what I can share, there's not a whole lot to share because we did, I did give that district interim assessment, the listening and interpret, and in both cases it took them pretty much the whole segment of time that I had them, which is approximately 2 class periods. The only other thing that we did do is we did go over the article of the week. So this week on Week in Rap with vocabulary, there was quite a few things that I wanted to use. Like there is one part where they talk about how they're going to change the order of the ABCs so that young kids are not running the letters LMNOP together and then not deciphering one letter from the other. And I just thought that was really interesting, but I couldn't find like a Newsella article about it, so I couldn't use that. But they did also talk about the wildfires that have been happening in California. And in case some of you are interested, I'm safe, I'm fine. I'm somewhat close to some of the fires that have occurred, but not close enough to evacuate or anything. So I gave them an article about the fires. So that is what they'll be working on this week. They're due on Friday for me. And that's really it. Aside from that, they took the test. I did give them some reminders, and I was very pleased to see that I felt like some of them took it to heart. So with the listen and interpret, no matter what grade I've taught, that's always been the lowest category. That's the trend in the district. I think it's like the trend statewide, if I'm not mistaken. Like, it's very difficult. So we've done a couple of activities with ListenWise, which is a resource. Hopefully I'll talk about some more in the future when I'm using it more regularly. But I just referred to the couple activities that we did and just kind of reminded them that there is nothing that stops you from listening to those passages multiple times. And there's nothing that stops you from making a graphic organizer for yourself as you listen and try and gather the information that you need to answer the questions. Because one of the times that we use the ListenWise activity, I don't know if I mentioned this in one of the vlogs before, but I did the activity with both classes, obviously, but with my homeroom class, totally forgot to give them the graphic organizer and work through that with them. Whereas the second class, we did do the graphic organizer, and then when they took the listening test, they outscored the homeroom class in a very significant way. And I attribute some of that to just having the graphic organizer there. So while they were taking the test, even though it took longer than I thought, I was happy because that A tells me they weren't rushing through it. And I did see quite a few students taking notes or making graphic organizers for themselves. So that made my teacher heart smile. So we did that today. In leadership, hopefully I will get to a point where I can get some permission slips and at least be able to show you some of the leadership kids and what we're doing, just because that's kind of fun. We had elections for the second trimester just within the leadership group, so we have a new president. Actually, no. Our president from first trimester won a re-election. We had to do a tiebreaker. So we got those positions handled. We are going to be working towards our second rally. It was going to be Coachella themed, but now that we've moved the date of the rally to December, they want it to be winter based and maybe do Coachella later in the year. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow because we kind of need to get the show on the road with that. And I had a meeting at lunch with my grade level because in 8th grade we have to teach family life. And when I was in middle school, family life was always taught by your science teacher, which to me makes sense. That's not necessarily the case anymore. They split it sounds like, between both the science math teacher and the language arts social studies teacher, which I don't have an issue with. But the one question that I've asked, which other teachers have asked, but we have not gotten a concrete answer, is for some reason, male teachers are not allowed to teach female teachers for family life, but female teachers are allowed to teach male students in family life. And we've been told it's because there's more information about the female body that males would not be familiar with. The logic of it all makes no sense to me, and from what I can gather, doesn't make much sense to other members of the team. And me just being the person that I am, I just want to know the why behind it. Even if finding out the why doesn't change things, I just want to know why that is, because that seems to be, in my opinion, a very outdated method of delivery. I am just as unfamiliar with the male body as I would assume a male teacher would be unfamiliar with the female body. Like, there's a lot of like assumptions being made there. So I think one of the teachers is going to ask like where that rule is coming from, if that's even still a thing, and then we'll go from there. But Ms. Cohen and I are going to kind of figure out how we want to split the two classes, because it sounds like they also still want us to keep the genders separated, which I get, just to kind of make the kids less awkward. So we had that meeting at lunch, and then we very briefly talked about things that we have to take care of at the end of the year that are conducive to 8th grade, given the fact that these kids are going to be promoting to to high school. So that has been pretty much my day. All in all, positive given the fact that I was coming into work today with a little bit of anxiety. I am proud to say that I'm getting ready to go home now. I am getting ready to walk my little dogs, and I'm going to cook myself some dinner, and I'm going to grade, but I'm going to cut myself off from grading at 8 p.m. so that I have time to rest and relax for the evening. And I'm hoping that this is the beginning of a new era in this school year. So definitely want to check in, but that's all I have to say for today, and I will be sure to check in with you guys at some point tomorrow. So see you tomorrow. Good afternoon, you guys. Let me adjust my clothing. It is 3:10 to be exact. I had a really good day, and I'm very happy to report that. My day was kicked off to a great start because my neighbor, who is also the mom of one of my students, sent me a text this morning and said, there's a treat for you, waiting for you outside at your front door. So I texted her back and said thanks, but then I just finished getting ready. I don't know what I thought it was, but I just thought it was gonna be like a card or a note or something. But when I went downstairs to like get ready to go, I opened the door, and luckily I did, because it was my favorite Starbucks drink just sitting at my doorstep with a cute little card. And when I tell you, I just smiled out of pure giddiness. That's not even an exaggeration. Like, I really was like already wishing I can go to Starbucks this morning to get that drink, which is a vanilla sweet cream cold brew, in case you were wondering. And she got it for me. She had the order exactly correct, because I had a couple students earlier in the year, one of which was her son, ask me what my favorite drink was because they wanted to write it down. So they had it. Apparently her son was so diligent in like passing that information on to her because, excuse me, because it was perfect. So that started my day off very nicely. And then all in all, it was a good teaching day. So leadership, I think I told you guys that they were thinking about switching the rally from Coachella themed to winter themed. That decision was made. They have been put into committees. They were working very well in those committees to start getting the process of the next rally started, which is going to be the first week of December. Then I had my prep period with one of my students who's acting as my TA during that period. So she got some things done for me. And she and the other 2As that I have later in the day are putting the self-portraits together. And as soon as I have one that's completed, I'll share with you guys what the finished product looks like. And then UA was relatively good. I just, honestly, if I were to say anything about Language Live, it does feel very dry. It feels very dry to teach. I think it feels very dry to the students. I'm not really sure how to solve that problem or change that, so I just have to make the best of it. So I did today. And then what I was most anxious about was my social studies lesson. So I stole this idea from my team lead. I'm not gonna say her name until I like get permission to even say her name, but she shared this with me a while ago because she and I think a couple other teachers on campus do it. And at first I wasn't gonna do it because I felt like I was getting behind in social studies, but then I changed my mind and I decided to do it. So basically we are at the point where, in social studies, where the Declaration of Independence has been drafted and signed. So there's this whole activity where you kind of like make the kids think that you found this note that another student left for another note. And I set the stage for this a couple weeks ago, I think it was, when I was certain I was gonna do it and before I had contemplated not doing it. And I just very vaguely said to them like, hey, I think, was it last week? It was last week because we switched seats. So I said, hey guys, like, you know what, after we switched seats yesterday, this was the next day, I said, I don't know if this fell out of somebody's backpack or what happened, but I found a note on the floor and it was pretty like detailed. And if I were to read this note in front of your parent, everybody in here would be embarrassed. And you know, I've taken this note up to the office and I talked to the administrators about it. And I asked them what I should do. And I said, and since we don't know exactly who wrote it, the administrators just said, you know what, Miss Robinson, give your classes a warning, but if something else like that happens, let us know and we'll have to come in and we'll have to do a full-blown investigation. So I said, you guys just need to really make sure that you're careful about those things. And I just left it at that. So jump to today, where in between then and today, I had reached out to my administrators and asked if one of them would be willing to participate in this like joke of sorts. And they both said yes, and there was only one that was available today. So I gave her the letter. So the letter is actually written by another teacher on campus, but it is made to look like a student letter. Like when you see it, it really does look like it's all folded up, it's crinkled up. And so the letter says this, it just says, KG, I don't really know how to start, but I feel like we need to talk. I've been thinking about us a lot lately. Things used to be so great. It was like we were made for each other. I mean, everyone said it was perfect. I really thought we would be together forever, but then things changed. I feel like you started taking me for granted. You just started to do whatever you wanted and never asked me about anything or how I felt. I've been thinking about this for a while and I don't want to hurt you, but I think we just need to break up. I mean, it's just not going to work. I need some time by myself to see what it's like on my own. I'm sorry things didn't work out, but you are the one to blame. I'm sorry, but us is over. And so it's written to AG and it's signed AC. So the administrator comes in and like, you know, gives them this speech about like note writing, and I'm participating in like, you know, this is a waste of class time, and instead of getting your assignments done, you guys are sitting here writing notes and you're involved in all of this drama and it's just not necessary. And both classes like totally bought it. It was even better in the second class because I do have a student with the initials AC. And so he's like, well, my initials are AC, but you know, I didn't do it. And you could tell that he was really nervous about it. And so we kind of let them sweat it out for a little while. And like one girl was like, well, is it a boy or a girl? Because a lot of times you can tell by the writing. And then in my homeroom class, someone thought that they knew who actually wrote it. So it was pretty entertaining. And then of course at the end we tell them, or I tell them, guys, we're just kidding. This is not a real note. Don't worry, this is to lead us into our social studies lesson. So after we did that, I showed them a parody of the song Too Late. I found it on YouTube, thanks to Megan, she shared it with me. And I showed them that and then said, you know, we're gonna write a breakup letter based on the Declaration of Independence. And so we talked about what are reasons people break up, what are things that cause people to break up. And then we moved on to, I'm sorry, my desk is a bit of a mess right now. We moved on to this. So did I get this from somebody? I think I Googled the phrase, the Declaration of Independence simplified, and then I just made something based off of that. So this is just if you were to break down what the Declaration of Independence is saying in just layman's terms or in terms that we can understand today, it's all here. I would share this with you, but I can't because it's not my, these are not my words. But if you Google the Declaration of Independence simplified, you'll find quite a few things. Side note and teacher tip, did you guys know that if you put a yellow highlighter on paper, it won't copy, but it will help you to differentiate your master from everybody else's paper? You're welcome for that. So I do this just so that I can put this in my file and know that these are masters that I need. So we read through this in layman's terms, and then as we were reading through it, I said, okay, if you were to take this part of the Declaration of Independence that we're translating and frame it like it's someone breaking up with someone else, what kinds of things would you say? So for example, there's a section that says, we tried to get along with England, and then, and this is the Declaration of Independence being translated, it says, we tried to get along with England, but so then it says, people should not change their government without a good reason. So people usually suffer as long as they can under the government they have, rather than change it. But when there have been a lot of problems for a long time, it is their right and their duty to throw off that government and to set up a better government. So I said, okay, if you were to make this sound like a person is breaking up with another person, what would be something that you would say in this letter? So they said things like, you know, dear so-and-so, I've been putting up with these problems for a long time and I keep asking you to change and nothing's changing, and it's clear that you're gonna change, that you're not gonna change, so I'm breaking up with you because of X, Y, and Z. So we practiced just kind of giving them some ideas so that when they went home to do this, they had an idea of what it needed to sound like. So we read through this together, talked through it, and then as a group and as a class, I had them discuss these 4 questions with their group, and then we kind of summarized what we said as a whole class so that they had something to write down. So the 4 questions they had to answer were, number 1, what have the colonists realized in the relationship between themselves and the king? Number 2, in what ways do the colonists deserve better treatment? Number 3, how long has the king wronged the colonists? And number 4, what changes will the colonists make after the breakup? So this is a product, it's copyrighted down there, so I'm gonna let you know. It's from I Teacher Lady Productions, so I will try and link because this looks like a Teachers Pay Teachers product. I will link this in the description box if I remember, because I can tell you where this came from. Whereas this, I really did just Google it. And then this is just a letter a teacher made up that we've all shared. So I had a lot of fun with that. They had a lot of fun with it. They totally bought it. It was fun just to watch the administrator like participate in it. She did a good job acting, and we were like bouncing off of each other. So it was satisfying. As far as language arts, I wanted to teach types of conflict today. I found a video on vocabulary, because again, they have a video for just about everything I'm looking for. And we didn't get to it because we had too many kids that were not done with the writing prompt. But this is the anchor chart that I made. This is my attempt at creating my own anchor chart. So hopefully tomorrow we'll talk about conflict, and that there can be conflict that is considered to be internal, where it's a conflict with yourself, and then external. And I think what I'm going to do is, I didn't get to read this book to them last month because I just did it, but I really enjoy the book, Creepy Pair of Underwear. So I might read that book to them tomorrow and just see if they can identify, excuse me, my eyelashes were rubbing up against my glasses. See if they can identify what kind of conflict that is, so that when they're writing their story, which is again a prequel or a sequel to The Telltale Heart, they can decide whether or not the character that they focus on is going to be suffering from internal conflict or external conflict. So that was supposed to happen today, but that's gonna happen tomorrow. And then I'm also gonna have them sketch their story out. This is a Step Up to Writing product, and they will be identifying the 5 W's of their story. So this is as far as we've gotten on the extended writing project. I gave them a story elements page so they can identify the setting, the conflict, and all of that. They have a 5 W's page: who, what, when, where, why, and then I'm going to give them the story sketch page tomorrow. So that is what I had planned for language arts, but again, we didn't get to it because we had kids that needed to finish the listening assessment, and then we had some kids that also needed to finish the study sync assignment that I assigned them yesterday, because I realized I need to give them some study sync assignments so that while we're in the midst of this larger writing project, they still have classwork grades that I can take. And then the big news for them is that this was the first week that they beat me with the mentor sentence. I found 23 items. So what I do, I don't think I ever showed this to you, but I do tell them how many things I found just at a quick glance. So I told them I found 23, told them I know for a fact that's not everything, that's just what I found in a quick situation. And then the 2 classes compete against me, and if they surpass me, then they get to pull a stick out of their kerplunk. So they surpassed me, so they were excited. I just have to make sure to remember to tell my homeroom class that the switch class helped them beat the teacher, so they get to pull a stick. So that was my day. I'm very happy to report that it was a good day. Right now, all I'm doing is I'm getting some things ready for tomorrow, because tomorrow in social studies, they're going to pick a battle of the Revolutionary War that they're going to be reporting on. They're gonna create this. This is a sample from my team lead. I'm gonna just cover up the student's name. They're gonna create what looks like a newspaper article focusing on a battle that they are going to draw from a bag or a box or something tomorrow. So I'm just making labels of the battles of the Revolutionary War that I will be putting on these index cards that they will be drawing tomorrow. So, good day. I'm very happy. So far the week is going well. I actually, did I say this? I don't think I did, because I think this is the first time I'm picking up the camera. But I went home yesterday, walked the dogs, cooked dinner, made myself stop working at 8:30, read my devotional, wrote in my little journal, and it made all the difference in the world. So I need to just make a conscientious effort to do that every single day. So I'm gonna get these things done, and then I'm meeting Liza and our old principal for dinner, and that's it. So yay for a good day. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Hello, it's 4:19. I'm getting ready to leave. Let me turn this cafe music off. I'm getting ready to leave because I have a manicure appointment at 6, and I need to leave like at 5 just to make sure I get there on time. It's not an hour away, it's about 30 minutes away, but in Southern California, you just never know with traffic, so I just need to get the show on the road. But as far as today, I think earlier today, maybe I vlogged a little bit of footage of me prepping what I was going to be using in social studies. So today in social studies, they picked their battles. I don't know how many there are, but for both classes, I was able to give each student their own battle. I don't think there was any situation in which two students in a class was doing the same battle. So I just made these little cards. I laminated them this morning so that I could use them year after year because I don't intend on changing grade levels anytime soon. And then I just put them in this bag here. I had my administrative assistant stand with the bag while the students came and drew out a card. And as they drew the card, I typed their name into this Google Doc that I created that just basically has a table. The left side of the table has the student's name, the right side has the battle. And I typed the names in and told the kids if for some reason they don't remember what battle they've been assigned to, then they can go to Google Classroom and refer to it. So this will be an in-class assignment that they will be working on. So they just did that in social studies today because I'm going to have them start researching with the sub tomorrow. And it's kind of nice because this does tie in with what we're doing with Study Sync and the extended writing project. So I just kind of told them, you know, this is your battle. Tomorrow you will start researching with the sub. And I just let them know, like, if you write a news story or if you take a journalism class, like when I took a journalism class, one of the first things we learned about is that all news stories involve who, what, when, where, why, which is pretty much the same thing we've been talking to you with story development and making sure you have those aspects in your story. So I found this paper. I don't even know where I got this. I honestly think I just Googled who, what, when, where, why. And this was one of the graphic organizers that came up. And it did let me change it a little bit. So it didn't necessarily say these things next to the who, what, when, where, why. So I changed it so that it says who was involved, what occurred, where did this happen, when did this happen. The only one I think I changed is why. And I made it say, why is this battle important? So tomorrow they will work on researching that. I'll have them write their name. I just got makeup on this paper. I will have them write their name at the top and then come up with an idea of their headline for their article, and then just spend that class period looking for information. And for some of the battles, I put other words in parentheses like, is it the Battle of Sarah? No, the Battle of Bunker Hill. So for example, it says the Battle of Bunker Hill, and then parentheses it says Breeds Hill, to let them know that you could Google both of those and get relative or the same information, excuse me. And then I just also gave them a quick blurb about, like, try and source the material. So we've talked about sourcing material and looking at where it's coming from and judging its reliability. So I told them just be mindful of that when they're researching on the internet. We talked about Wikipedia and the idea that just because something's on the internet doesn't make it thoroughly true. So try and, like, cross-reference things and feel as secure as possible in their research, that they're actually writing down accurate information. So that's what we did in social studies. And then in language arts, we're just kind of like all over the place. I still have a couple of kids in each class. Well, actually my switch class is done. I still have a couple of kids in my homeroom class that need to finish their district assessment. These are just the kids that are left are like very high achieving kids, so they're extremely thorough. So they were in a separate space working on that. And then some students were still finishing up their Study Sync assignment from yesterday. And then some students were at the point where they were mapping out their story. So on the board, for management purposes, I just told them, you know, this is the order in which you have to do things. And this is for tomorrow, but this is kind of the same thing. I just told them these are the things you should be working on in that order. Once you're done with your Study Sync assignment, you're moving on to your extended writing project. And these are the things that you should have completed in this particular order, just to kind of keep them organized. So we did that today. I did stop them at some point because I did want to introduce the idea of conflict so that I could not be held up in this whole progression of things I want to teach the class in terms of writing a story. So I told them every day I'm going to try and give you a little mini lesson on aspects that you definitely want to have present in your story. So today we talked about conflict. I found a vocabulary video. Once again, I enjoyed it. I printed out the lyrics for them so they can have that as a reference point. And then I did read Creepy Pair of Underwear, and they enjoyed the story. just as much as I did. They chuckled, they just got a kick out of it because it is a really fun story. And then after, or before reading it, I said, so as you listen to this story, I want you to think about what kind of conflict is it? Is it internal, where it's a person versus their self, or is it external, where it's a character versus character, character versus society, character versus nature? So they listened to it, and in both classes, they were like right on the money. They definitely had a moment where they were like, well, maybe it's external, because initially you might think that the conflict is between the main character, which is this bunny, and his creepy pair of underwear, which are these glow-in-the-dark green underwear. And we talked about the fact that that's not the case, because if that was truly the case, when the point of the story comes where the bunny gets the green pair of underwear and buries them underground and has successfully gotten rid of them, he would have been happy. He would have felt relieved and all of that. But in the story, after he buries his underwear and like gets rid of them, he goes home, goes to bed, and realizes it's too dark in his room and he's actually scared. So then he realized, oh, it's an internal conflict because he was really fighting his fears. So that was just kind of a fun way to do that. So I'm glad I did it. Now I feel like I want to find a story where they can identify an external conflict. And so I think what I'm going to do on Friday is kind of just extend the little mini lesson on conflict, and I'm going to read them a story, a picture book about Rosa Parks, because on, what day is it? November the 13th, I think it is. Yes. So November the 13th, bus segregation ends, and I typically will read this book about Rosa Parks. So it turns out that that will also be a very good book to use to talk about conflict that is external, because that is definitely character versus society. So I think that's what I'm gonna do on Friday. And that's pretty much it. So another good day. I can't complain, and that's always good news. So right now I'm just wrapping things up for the day. I'm making sure I have everything that I need for tomorrow. Tomorrow I will actually be out because I will be meeting with members of our union, because we are in the process of starting to prepare for contract negotiations, which will be coming up very soon for us. For us this year, the whole contract is open, which is kind of a big deal. So we've just been meeting to kind of look things over, contemplate some things that we might want to bring up at the table, and make sure we're prepared in that sense. So I will be out tomorrow. I handpicked the sub that I have. The kids really like them, so that's good. So it should be a good day, even though I won't be here tomorrow. With that being said, I'm not sure how much I'll vlog tomorrow, or if I'll be vlogging at all, because, you know, it's not really something that I can vlog and then like publicize what we're planning to do. So if I don't talk to you tomorrow, I will definitely talk to you guys on Friday. So I will see you then. Everybody, it's Friday, 4:48. I'm getting ready to leave. I'm gonna put you guys right there while I start getting myself together. I'm getting ready to leave, but I'm going to leave to go home and do some work, which is fine, because as I've said before, Fridays are the days where I just tell myself, just work, and then you'll have the weekend off. And it's a 3-day weekend, so it's a little more easy for me to mentally accept the fact that I'm going to be working on a Friday evening, because I'll get to have 3 days off. So there's dust everywhere. This room gets very dusty very quickly, which is annoying. But as far as yesterday I took some footage. I'm not sure if I'll include it because it wasn't anything like super exciting, but basically yesterday I was out for a union meeting so that we can prepare for contract negotiations, which are coming up for us. It was kind of nice because I didn't have to be at school until 8:30, so I was able to work out, leisurely get ready, actually have some breakfast. I had some frozen waffles, some frozen wheat Eggo waffles. Stopped and got some Starbucks, which was a fiasco yesterday because yesterday was the day where the holiday cups came out, and then I guess they were giving away a limited amount of reusable cups, and people were just about to lose their mind over these cups, which, I mean, I enjoy a good Starbucks drink, but these cups are really nothing that impressive to me. Like, they are literally plastic cups. They're not even like mugs or anything. So the Starbucks was super busy, like the one that I always go to. But I was at my previous school for this meeting from about 8:30 until 2. And then what are these? And then I went to CM, which is a school supply store, because I wanted to get this poster set that I'll show you guys probably another time when the bulletin board is put up. Because basically, I'm walking backwards because I really don't want to show it to you yet because it's not done yet. So I'm just trying to make sure that no matter what I do, I don't show it to you. Basically, I think I vlogged this, but this is in the footage that I never uploaded because my life was just all over the place. My leadership kids, when they were getting ready for the Halloween rally that we had a couple weeks ago, accidentally got, like, not paint itself, but like paint water on the wall, and I just about shed some tears, but I had to hold it together because I know that they didn't do it on purpose. And so every day I look at this certain spot in my classroom where you can't really see it, but I know it's there, where there's this paint like splatter. And I saw this bulletin board set in, who is it? In another teacher's classroom on campus, and I asked her where she got it from, and she told me. I initially was gonna get it off of Amazon because they did have it on Amazon. It's a growth mindset bulletin board set, but Amazon, it wasn't available to come primed, so it wasn't gonna come until Wednesday. And me being impatient with things sometimes, I just decided I didn't wanna wait that long. And so after my meeting yesterday, I went down to CM, which is about 20 minutes from my house, found it. But the good news is I didn't have to pay for it because I had some credit that I was able to use at this store, so it ended up being free for me because I had accumulated enough points. So that's basically what I did yesterday. I did some grading, but I didn't do that much because by 8 o'clock I was barely staying awake. So that was how yesterday went. As far as today was concerned, I always feel a little frazzled when I come in after a sub if I don't come in early. So I did go to Orange Theory. I was thinking about canceling it, but I didn't because I'm trying to be a good person. But I did leave early and came in, and I always feel frazzled because my slides aren't ready. I know the agenda is not on the board, and that kind of stresses me out. So I was a little frazzled, but I got everything done. And today was one of those days where, have you ever had one of those teaching days where you at the last minute decide to change things up and you don't know if you're a genius for doing that or crazy for doing that? Well, that is what happened to me today. I had plans, but with Monday being Veterans Day, I definitely wanted to somehow incorporate that kind of content into the day. So at the last minute, I decided, well, let me look and see if there's a Brain Pop video on Veterans Day, which there was, which is actually pretty good. And then, because I really want to be more consistent and better about providing them the opportunity to practice their listening skills using the website ListenWise, I just went on ListenWise to see if I could find like some listening activity that is related to Veterans Day. And this is one of those, like, everything just fell into place, the stars aligned. So in the Brain Pop video, they talk about how Veterans Day was once referred to as Armistice Day and kind of explain all of that. And then this clip that I had from ListenWise also makes reference to Armistice Day, and so the two things kind of like converged. So I had them listen to it as a whole class, and then again just talk to them about like some of the things they wanted think about when they're taking these listening assessments. The fact that they can listen to the audio multiple times, the fact that they can create their own graphic organizers, their own notes, and the fact that they just have to teach themselves how to whittle through the information that they need versus what they don't need. So I said to them, I think a lot of kids with those types of assessments get overwhelmed because there's just so many words. There's just like so much that the person on the audio is saying that it can become overwhelming. I said, but if you are able to see the questions ahead of time, which they are on these assessments, and I made sure to show them the questions that I was going to have them answer on the quiz, if you are able to see the questions ahead of time, then you just got to tell yourself right now, as interesting as all the other stuff in the clip may be, I just need to hone in on the information that's going to help me answer these questions. And so as I was watching them take the test, a lot of them seemed very like focused, and they were taking notes, and that was very promising. So we did that, and then I had them do their reflection for the article of the week. This week, their article was on wildfires, so we reflected on that. And honestly, that was as far as we got, because the listening assessment, or the listening quiz, I should say, takes some time because the kids are listening to it as many times as they need. And so we did that. And then, aside from that, the only thing I was able to kind of start is, where's that book? I read to them, I think I told you guys a couple days ago, I read the book Creepy Pair of Underwear to them. A, because I wanted to read it. It's one of my favorite books. And B, it's a good example of internal conflict. So today I decided to read another book, since on the 13th, it is the anniversary of bus segregation ending, I think is what it is. I did mention this. It's all coming back to me right now. I mentioned that I wanted to read this book to them as an example of external conflict, and more specifically, character versus society. So I only got to half of it, but in both classes, what was reassuring about that is that they enjoy a picture book being read to them. One student, or a couple of students in my homeroom class, I don't know what my game plan is right now, hold on. In my homeroom class actually got excited and said, we like when you read to us because it's entertaining. And I believe that they were being genuine when they said that. So that was fun to know. So I read half the story, and both classes, they were like engaged. Like in my switch class, like the kids like moved their chairs, turned because they wanted to see the pictures. In my homeroom class, when I read Creepy Pair of Underwear, one of the kids asked if I could put the book underneath the Elmo, or the document camera. I always just call it an Elmo because that's how it was introduced to me years ago. And I couldn't, because the way it projects, you wouldn't be able to see both pages anyway. But I was like, these kids, they enjoy a picture book. So that was really all that I did. So I don't feel like I got a lot of things done, but I felt like learning took place and it was a successful day. They also turned in their breakup letters. I'm looking forward to reading them. I did have them write it on this fluorescent paper that I found that I had, and I just am looking forward to seeing them. I encouraged them to make them look like actual letters. I said doodle on it, fold it up, crumple it up, and they did. So I'm gonna read these. They will probably get credit just for getting it done. I'm not gonna be super nitpicky about grammar or anything. So that is how my day went. I am getting ready to leave because it's getting dark. I may or may not walk my dogs. It just depends on how brave I feel. But I'm thinking about going to Target because I want to add a floating bookshelf to my classroom to go on this wall where I put up this bulletin board set. And then I'm gonna go home and just work until I feel like I can't work anymore. So I am happy to report that this week, I redeemed myself as a teacher. Last week was horrific in so many ways. This week was great, like just for different reasons. Great because I feel like I did a good job of like leaving at a reasonable hour, setting some boundaries, walking the dogs, cooking dinner, just stopping work when it was getting late and making sure I had time to read and rest and relax. I felt like my lessons were effective, and I just am feeling like the routines and procedures of my class are getting more solidified, not just for my students, but for me as well. And that's a good feeling. So I would call this week a success, and I'm happy about it. So that's it. I don't think I have anything else to say. So I hope that you enjoyed this vlog, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't, subscribe if you would like to see more videos and be notified when I upload videos. I upload every Sunday for the most part at 8 a.m. Again, if you're not following me on Instagram, it's a slow and steady process. Make sure you follow me there so that I can hit my goal of 10,000 followers. But yeah, that's it. I'm just thankful to have another great, well, not another, because I didn't have a good one last week. I'm just thankful to have a good week this week, and I hope that you guys had a great week as well, regardless of what you do, if you're teaching or not. But again, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next vlog. Until then, bye.